A new Batman game is coming. It's all but confirmed from WB themselves. Is it an Arkham game though? Very likely that it will be, but we don't know. However, using the Arkham games as precedents, those games are amazing, but there are features that are missing in the games that I think can enhance the experience, not just to make the game more fun overall, but to make the experiences different for each player, which we'll get into with these points in the video. These features are specifically for the Arkham Batman games, and it's stuff that I hope will be implemented in some way in an eventual sequel to this franchise. Copium. That's the intro. Let's go ahead and get started with the 10 missing features in the Arkham games. Subscribe, please. I'm trying to get to 150k. That's my goal. But other than that, let's move on with the first point here. The Batcave. The Batcave, for all intents and purposes, is kind of a missing feature from the Arkham games, and let me elaborate. Yes, we do use the Batcave in Arkham Origins, Arkham Asylum, and even Arkham Shadow, and it's even a challenge map in Arkham City and Arkham Knight. But here's the thing. The Batcave is never used to the utmost potential. It's not a particularly interesting in-depth location in any of the games. In Arkham Asylum, the Batcave is a place you're in for like 2 seconds to grab a couple of gadgets and you never go back for anything else. Arkham Origins, same thing. You only go there to get gadgets or progress the story. Yes, you can get your suits in-game from there, but that's only after beating the story. And it's also worth noting that the cave in Arkham Origins is in its infancy stage, so to speak. We never get an actual fully fleshed cave. And in Arkham Shadow, it's a location really just used to progress the story once again. My point here is, we never get a fully fleshed out Batcave that's used not just for the story, but for other customizable and optional features as well. Remember in Arkham Knight's reveal trailer when the water opens up and Batman comes out of it with the Batmobile? Why can't we do that in the game? Why do we have to wait in Arkham Origins until after beating the story to put on costumes? What was really the point of the cave in Arkham Asylum? You barely use it. I understand they all served a purpose, but really, we never got a fully fleshed out Batcave. I want one where we can go there from Gotham and vice versa with the Batmobile in real time. I want one where we can put skins there anytime in the story. I want one where we can use it to maybe even write notes on the Bat computer like Batman would. The Batcave is an amazing box filled with endless creativity, and it's never used to the extent that it could be. The Batcave is really an extension of Batman, and I feel that it just doesn't ever feel like that in the games, which sucks. So I think while the Batcave was usable in past Arkham games, it was never fully fleshed out, and because of that, it was not memorable. Like the clock tower in Arkham Knight was more memorable than the Batcave in Arkham Asylum. I feel like that shouldn't be a true statement, right? So yes, next Arkham game, give it a lot more focus and detail on a really fleshed out Batcave. Here's a smaller feature that for some reason isn't in the game and doesn't need much explanation: having the ability to easily wear costumes in-game. As amazing as the Arkham games are, they make it surprisingly annoying to put on different costumes in the game, and it makes it kind of a hassle for no reason. In Arkham City, you have to pick a suit in the main menu, and if you want to wear a new one, you have to exit back to the main menu to put another one on. Arkham Origins, you have to travel to the Batcave and beat the story to keep putting on new suits. In Arkham Knight, you have to swap to the costumes in the main menu. It's just annoying for no reason. Compare it to the Insomniac Spider-Man games where you can swap between suits in like 2 seconds. It's just a really nice quality of life change that should be in the next game, because people go crazy for costumes in superhero games, so making it as easy as possible for them to swap between the suits is nice. That's all for this point though. Pretty short, like I said. This one might be too much, but I think is something that should be implemented in some capacity in the next Arkham game that I'm trying to speak into existence. Playing as just not Batman and free roam, but all the other Arkham characters, however many that may be in the next game. One of the best things about Batman Arkham City was the fact that you can play as Catwoman and free roam the city as her, and not only that, she had her own set of missions and even collectibles to do. It's a really fun thing to add in a game. Playing as new characters is just a really awesome feature in any game. Having it in a Batman game where there's so many vigilantes to choose from seems like a no-brainer. Now granted, I know, this is way easier said than done. Like, people wanted to be able to free roam as all the playable Arkham Knight characters in that game on top of their challenge maps. People were saying that the 240% completion reward in Arkham Knight should have been something way better than the gold Batsuit we got. Maybe having free roam characters could have been an awesome reward, and while I agree with that statement, you have to consider the fact that these characters in free roam would need something to do, right? It's one thing to have them free roam, but another to give them their own set of missions or collectibles, no matter how small. And it's all easier said than done, like I said. And I understand this would take a lot of development time, but even being able to play as just one or two characters for free roam could suffice. I would love to play as Robin gliding around the city in Arkham Knight. It'd be fun. Even if they didn't have missions or anything to do other than just running around the city fighting thugs, I would honestly be fine with that. But from a development perspective, they need to have things for them to do, right, in a video game. Otherwise, people will complain. Rightfully so, I would say. It's a feature that would make a game so much more enjoyable for people if they wanted to play as Nightwing, Red Hood, not you, Catwoman again, right? So yes, adding other playable characters with different missions or just collectibles, I think would make people really look forward to the next game, and that is a feature that needs to be in the next game. Custom challenge maps. Okay, now challenge maps are very iconic to the Arkham series. They're very fun because the gameplay loop in the Arkham games is very fun. The challenges are all set already, having their own designed set of enemies and arenas, which is very cool, but I think to further enhance this experience, I think it would add so much versatility if we can make our own custom challenge maps. Now, before you answer, there are quote-unquote custom challenge maps, but no, they're not. There's a mode where you can set different modifiers for yourself. That's not the kind of custom challenge map I'm talking about, okay? That mode is kind of dumb. I'm talking like you pick the arena and you pick the enemies that spawn in each round. Pick the amount of enemies, pick the enemies that spawn in the Predator room, that kind of thing. You ever play Super Mario Maker, where you can literally design your own level from scratch? In Arkham game, I pick a Predator map. I want to put a gun rack here, or I want to put a landmine on this specific gargoyle, and I want all enemies to be enforcers. I might add a medic. Do you see how fun that could be? It would be so sick, right? Maybe I add a combat arena full of just all medics, or all enforcers with gun racks around or something. Maybe you put landmines around the combat arena. Maybe you can also disable gadgets or give Batman buffs or something. Dude, the possibilities could be endless, and it could also add so much replay value to that game. It would also be really cool if there was a way to add your own medals and Predator sections. The ones where you have to do certain objectives to get the medal, having the player make their own medals would be really sick. And I think the best part about all of this, to make it go a step further, is allowing people to play other people's challenge maps, seeing if they could beat them. And it would create for competition and people trying to beat each other's maps or get the best score, which could make for more engagement among its player base. You can pick different characters too, adding that much more possibilities, make it a dual play section, why not? I think a feature like this needs to be added into the next Arkham game. It just sounds very fun, and for the people with creative minds out there, it would really be fun for them particularly. Let me know what you think about this one. I like this one a lot. Traversing options. So traversing in the Arkham games is really fun. It's something that can be expanded upon though. Now in Arkham Knight, where that game had the most traversing options, you can use the Batmobile and glide around the city, and also grapple boost around, yada yada yada. But I think a feature that needs to be used more in the next Arkham game are more traversing options. And what do I mean by that? Well, in Batman games coming out now, or Batman-related games rather, the games focus on like one central traversing technique for each character. So for example, Batman Arkham Knight, the Batmobile is a new main focus of traversal. Gotham Knights, the main traversing is the Batpod for everyone, but everyone else has a main traversing method, like Nightwing can Fortnite glide, for example, or Red Hood can leap off Lazarus Pit air things, apparently. These are all cool, as everyone has their own unique one traversing method on top of being able to grapple and glide like Batman. However, I think the next Arkham game needs to introduce the option of multiple traversal options. So on top of being able to grapple and glide and use the Batmobile, let us have Batman be able to use the Batpod. What if Batman can use other kinds of vehicles? I bring this up as a feature because when I compare Arkham Knight to, say, the Insomniac Spider-Man games, the Insomniac games traversal is way more enjoyable in my opinion. It's one of the things I think the Spider-Man games has easily over the Arkham games. I think to compete with that, the next Arkham game should have us feel like we have so many options of traversing at our disposal. I want to use the Batpod if I want something more speedier and easier to handle than the Batmobile. I want the Batmobile if I want something more bulkier. I think introducing the option to use the Batwing, even in less complicated, perhaps linear ways of traversing, would also be fine. My point here is, I hope the next Arkham game lets us traverse with different multiple vehicles on top of other things they might add in, because the feeling of having options to use is really fun. And it would perhaps add more replay value to missions if we can go in them in different vehicles. Let me know what you think about this one. Here's one I feel like should have been added in an Arkham game since Asylum, and it's the option of being able to replay through missions in the game. Not just story missions, but boss fights, side missions too. All the missions and events that you can't go back to after beating it once, I feel like you should be able to replay them. I think this is a feature that wouldn't be necessarily difficult to implement and would be really awesome. To start, with story missions. How many of us have a favorite story mission in the Arkham games? For me, I really love the final offer mission in Arkham Origins. I used to have a save file where it would have me start at the Deathstroke boss fight, and right before beating him, I'd exit the file so I can refight him again and again and again. Imagine if I just had an option at the main menu to start the beginning of the final offer and replay through it. Sure, there'd be things you have to work out, I guess, like if I replay the mission, do I go into my current upgrades of that file, or would the game only allow me to explore the final offer and can't go out of the area? That would be things to work out, but it's all very easy to do for a game developer, I think. It's just an excellent way of adding replay value, and the same goes for boss fights. The Arkham games are known for their amazing boss fights like the Deathstroke boss fight and Arkham Knight. Why is there no option at the main menu where I can click a list of boss fights and pick one to fight against once more? Imagine having that, or like a boss rush mode where you fight through each boss back to back. Really fun ways of adding replayable missions and even giving them a twist. And it sucks that it's not in these games. Arkham Knight had a bare bones version of replayable missions for side missions. Like, you can go back to the banks where Two-Face was and do them again, actually. You can do the Azrael missions once again too, but you can't do Gunrunner again. You can't do Firefly side mission once more. What if I want to play my favorite side mission, In From the Cold again? I think side missions should have replayable options as well. You know what superhero game has this feature? Spider-Man Miles Morales. Great job, Spider-Man Miles Morales. I just think that adding replayable missions adds more replayability, obviously. It's easier to implement compared to other things, I would think, and it allows for me to replay my favorite moments from each game, and it could also make it easier for people to collect footage for these games, honestly. So yes, please have this in the next Arkham game, or I'll be very sad. Here's a more simple one, but it's one that I think needs to be made into a point, because it adds more quality of life features to these games. Being able to change the weather and time of day. Might sound basic, but I see it in the same vein as having costumes for the superheroes. The option to have as many customizable options as possible is really great for single-player superhero games. I think being able to change weather is one that should be a standard. Marvel Spider-Man 2 has it, and it's great. Setting up a shot in the rain with a costume and taking a photo in photo mode is stuff that some people don't care about, but still nice to have. I think having the option to turn the weather from raining to then snowing is really cool. Changing it from night to day, while not fitting for Batman since he operates at night, it's still worth to have because people like those things, you know? After beating In From the Cold in Batman Arkham Knight, you'll notice the map is now covered in snow and it looks really nice. But what if I want to go back to the rain? What if I don't want any weather effects at all? Just a simple one here, not much else to explain, but I think a simple quality of life update like this is something that modern superhero games should have, so hopefully this makes it into the next one. Now here's one I think might be controversial, but I think the idea and novelty of it, and as long as it's executed well, would be fun. And I think it's the idea of interchangeable gadgets. Yes, in the next Batman game, you won't be able to use every single gadget when going out as Batman. You have to pick which ones you want to use before going out of the Batcave, and let me explain. I think if there is a new Batman game, if they add new gadgets on top of all the ones we have from Arkham Knight, things might get too clustered. There were some missing gadgets from Arkham Knight that would have been great to have. The remote claw, for example. What if I want to use a freeze cluster grenade from Arkham City again? It would be nice to have those things, but if you actually add up all the gadgets used in each Arkham game, there's a lot. And realistically, you don't use a lot of them. A lot of players, I feel, don't use remote control battering. Maybe they don't care for the freeze pellets, so they leave that in exchange for other gadgets. It could add a very fun, customizable feeling where everyone's experiences could be different. And on top of that, it can add a new level of self-made difficulty. What if you just didn't want to bring a single gadget? It can add a new level of self-made difficulty. What if you just don't want to bring a single gadget with you, and now you can play the game without a single gadget? Wouldn't that be crazy? Or what if you don't want to bring smoke grenades or batarangs or even the Batclaw to see how you fare without the best gadgets? I think there's a whole new world here where the possibilities could be fun. So compared to Batman Arkham Knight, this game gives us 10 gadgets to use if we exclude the Batmobile remote control and the cryptographic sequencer, since those things I wouldn't count as gadgets. At least ones you can't use in any given combat scenario or situation, right? What if the next game gives us a whole new slew of gadgets, new and returning, and we only have about, let's say, 10 gadget slots to bring out of the Batcave? It would be pretty cool. Would make you kind of feel like Batman. Haha. What are the best tools to bring out in the upcoming mission? What if certain gadgets were so strong that it would take up multiple slots? Like, what if we got a gadget where we can summon bats to swarm the enemy? Not the bat swarm takedown we have, but an actual long-lasting bat swarm kind of thing, like in that one scene from Batman Begins. But what if it took 2 slots instead of 1? I think there needs to be something that separates a new Batman game from the last, and this could be ultimately fun and that at the same time. It may be lame to some people that want to use every gadget every time, but I think there's pros to it with it being able to make it so you have different experiences for everyone, and you can set a unique kind of difficulty for yourself if you want to bring less gadgets, for example. Batman did not bring smoke bombs in Arkham Asylum because he didn't feel the need to have them. We could do something similar for ourselves in the next game, and I really don't feel like it would ruin anyone's experiences in the grand scheme of things, honestly. Nobody uses every single gadget every time, so I think it's something beneficial. And if you're wondering how it would affect missions and such where gadgets are mandatory to progress, the missions can just tell you what you need for that specific mission before it starts. Couldn't be difficult, I imagine. This one might lose people, but actually tell me what you think. I think it would be very awesome, and I am curious. Here's a mode I think should be in the next game that I feel will be very easy to add in. A one-hit death mode. There's a lot of games with this. Well, I guess not a lot. Metroid Dread had a mode where if you get hit once you die, it's kind of insane. As a self-proclaimed Arkham veteran, the hardest official difficulty modes in the Arkham games are really easy. New Game Plus modes for me are fun, but come on, you're not gonna die if you're good at these games. I think this is where adding a mode where if you get hit once, you die would be so beneficial because this is an actual insane mode that a lot of people can't get past. You see, me, Gotham Paladin, have beaten multiple Arkham games without getting hit once because I'm better than everybody else. But it's kind of annoying to make it my own makeshift mode. Having it an official mode where everyone can experience that would be awesome. Sure, they wouldn't win because they're not as good as me, but still a nice option to have. Maybe it doesn't have to be a one-hit death mode. Maybe it could be 2 hits. Doesn't matter. I think Arkham Origins was on the right track with the I Am the Knight mode that game provided, where if you die once, you start from the very beginning. That was a good difficulty mode, and now we can amp it up by adding a one-hit mode, and it would be very fun, and I think having new modes like this is not only natural, but easy to implement as well. I've beaten these games myself multiple times without getting hit if I didn't mention that, so I want people to experience that. I think this is a mode for veterans of the series as well, and really, these games are easy if we're being honest. Still extremely fun, but easy. So having modes where it's legitimately difficult would give the next game a whole new experience, and take it from someone that has beaten multiple of these games without getting hit once, because I have. The stress from trying not to die to Poison Ivy's plants so late in the game is an experience like no other, let me tell you. If not a one-hit mode, just having more extreme difficulty modes for people that are veterans of the series would be awesome. Let me know what you think about this one. Now, this last one might be similar to how people feel about interchangeable gadgets, but I think this one could be really fun and have people experience the game in different ways and adds more replayability. I think the idea of having an interchangeable skill tree would make for a very interesting gameplay experience. And what do I mean by an interchangeable skill tree? Well, it's the concept of having multiple different upgrade paths where once you level up, you can put a point in any of them, and all these trees give you different abilities. For example, you can have a stealth path, a combat path, and perhaps a unique /takedown/Batmobile path or something. Similar to Borderlands, if you've ever played Borderlands, they have different upgrade skill trees that give you different abilities. And what this allows is for you to customize and maximize certain damage outputs or movement options to create a really fun, customizable experience. You can't upgrade everything, so you have to pick and choose. It would add an RNG element to the Arkham games. But while it does that, this feature would not take away from the single-player fun experience we all know from the Arkham games. I'm picturing a Batman game with 3 very in-depth skill trees that blow any of the previous Batman games' level-up systems out of the park, giving us amazing upgrades and takedowns. We only have a certain amount of level-up points to invest in these trees. Maybe you can maximize one skill tree while using the rest for half of the others, or maybe invest in a bit in all 3 skill trees. This might seem limiting and a bad idea for people, but people love the idea of customization. People love having their own unique playthroughs, and I think this can do that for people. In the way I also see it, there's a lot of upgrades in the Arkham games that people just don't ever normally use. Let's be honest. Like the explosive gel proximity mine, ass. Is that something people really look forward to? I don't know, maybe, but you see my point. I think having it so people pick the upgrades they want will not only allow people to remember what they upgraded, but it also lets us not put points into things we find meaningless. Like maybe you want to build where Batman in stealth is super powerful, but since you invested so many points into stealth, maybe in regular combat sections, you're not as powerful. Or maybe you can maximize both depending on the theoretical situation with how many skill points a game would give you, but then the third tree would not be as upgraded, right? I'm just spitballing. I think you can do this in a way where it's intuitive as well, like easy to use and also fun. The Arkham games, I think, are very intuitive. You know where to go, you know what's a side mission. I think a feature like this would line up well with that notion when executed properly, and it could be a very forgiving mode too. Like if you don't like your build, just simply have it so you can reset all your skill points and do it all over, right? I think customization is always a great thing, and this feature would be a focal point of that. I touched on it earlier, but there are a lot of upgrades in the Arkham games I feel people don't personally care for, and wouldn't mind them being swapped out for a more customizable experience. Let me know what you think about this feature. Let me know, let me know. But yes, those are all the features I would like to see in the next Batman game. Some of these could be tweaked, or they might just be bad ideas, but it's things I see that could make for a more refreshing Batman experience and not make it feel similar to previous entries. So let me know what you think, or if there's a feature you would like to see that I didn't mention, or if mine sucked. But other than that, leave a like, sub, comment, all that, man. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you on the video. Say peace.